Video games can provide an escape from reality into another world of beautiful imagery. But what if you could escape to these destinations in real life? From massive multiplayer games to even the most bone-chilling horror games, many of these locations can be found in our real world. If you want to take a break from gaming, take a look at these 10 real-world locations before planning your next vacation. For an escape from reality much cheaper than a flight to an exotic location, or even a video game, subscribe to our channel for the latest news and updates from the hub. Dorado, Overwatch. Fans of Overwatch, the massively popular team-based multiplayer video game developed by Blizzard, will recognize this colorful coastal town of Dorado. This city in Mexico sits high above a beautiful bay. But if you were to visit the real city of Dorado, you wouldn't find yourself in Mexico, or even in North America. That's because the city of Dorado was based on a Google image of the city of Manarola in Italy. The developers knew they wanted to create a colorful, vibrant coastal city full of life. They entered the search terms colorful Mexican town and knew instantly from the thumbnail image of Manarola that the bright oranges and blues towering over the sea were perfect for their vision. And it wasn't until about 2 months later that someone mentioned they weren't even on the right continent, let alone in the right country. Owning the mistake with grace, Overwatch's director Jeff Kaplan promised the people of Mexico he would use one of their beautiful cities as a template for a later Italian map. While it may not be in Mexico, Manarola is a beautiful and ancient town worth visiting. Part of Italy's famous Cinque Terre, or Five Lands, this centuries-old fishing town towering over the sea is as beautiful as its fantasy counterpart. The Zone, Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl. Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl is a first-person shooter survival horror video game developed by GSC Game World and published by THQ. The game takes place in The Zone, a desolate post-apocalyptic wasteland based on a real-life exclusion zone surrounding the site of Chernobyl power plant disaster of 1986. While the game may be set in an alternate reality after a fictitious second disaster of the plant, the exclusion zone is very real. It contains full sight from the game as well as its own real-world horrors. Stalker features many structures modeled after buildings still present at Chernobyl, including the iconic Ferris wheel of the long-abandoned Pripyat amusement park, which was scheduled to open 1 month after the Chernobyl disaster, and of course, the power plant itself. While there are real dangers at Chernobyl, including radioactive wolves, the site is open to visitors, and there are even companies that will arrange tours. Visitors can tour the site and even enter the power plant itself, which many are surprised to learn still serves some functions. You won't find the deadly mutants and strange physics from the game, but you will be rewarded with ploppingly beautiful images and the bragging rights to having visited one of the most infamous locations on Earth. Kamurocho Yakuza series. Kamurocho is the fictitious red light district in Yakuza's take on the city of Tokyo. The name might be different from our world, their take on Kabukicho, a real red light and entertainment district in the heart of Tokyo. There are many recognizable elements that you can visit. Many landmarks in the area are positioned exactly the same in reality as they are in the Yakuza games. One of the easiest to recognize is the famous Red Gate, a brightly lit sign announcing your arrival at Kabukicho. The Sega arcade is also in the same location, in reality, as in the game's map of Kamurocho. Some buildings have been demolished, including the bowling alley in the theater district, and some areas are creative representations of large areas condensed down to a size more appropriate for a video game. There are bars and restaurants at every turn in Kabukicho, just as there are in Yakuza's Kamurocho. One of them, on a narrow side street, greatly resembles Elder Chen's restaurant, where you're offered a place to stay the night in Yakuza. Visitors may not be welcome to pull up a cot at the real-world equivalent, but being in such a visually similar space may make you feel as though you're involved in organized crime. Botabu Islet, Tomb Raider Underworld. Lara Croft is a video game icon. In this installment of the franchise Tomb Raider released by Square Enix in 2008, Lara Croft delivers more thrilling adventures in stunning settings. Who hasn't wished they could transport themselves to the fantastic locations this series takes you through? In Underworld, Croft searches for items belonging to the legendary Norse god Thor, and finds herself in Thailand, where she scales the sheer limestone cliffs around the island of Khao Ping Khan, and his famous islet, Koh Tapu, which towers some 66 feet above the sea. Tomb Raider isn't the geological feature's first appearance in media. The landmark was also featured in the 1974 James Bond film, The Man with the Golden Gun, giving it the nickname James Bond Island. Before the film's release, the site was seldom visited or even known of. In the early 80s, the site was included in the Alfangna Marine National Park, making it a protected area. While tourists are now forbidden to approach the islet of Kotapu, which translates to nail or spike by boat, to prevent erosion, visitors are still welcome to the island of Kaufingkan, where the islet can be photographed and admired while one enjoys the beautiful beaches. The island itself is a stunning mix of limestone rock face and lush greenery clinging to the surface. If you're in search of a mythical relic or just a great photograph, Kotapu is sure to please. Downtown Pittsburgh, The Last of Us. The Last of Us is a horror survival game developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony Computer Entertainment in 2013. In this post-apocalyptic nightmare filled with cannibals, players try to navigate their way through Pennsylvania's second-largest city after leaving Boston. The geography is pretty accurate, and most entering the city from Boston would recognize their surroundings. Pittsburgh is known as the City of Bridges, having 445 in total. The Last of Us captures many of them beautifully and accurately, including the famous Forest Gukanye bridge that players must reach to advance. It is stunningly realistic. The Omni Williams Penn Hotel is one detail that doesn't seem quite right in either location or an appearance in the video game. It appears to be a mixture of several iconic areas in the city and includes an out-of-place appearance of the Warren Center. Much of the scenery, geography, and even signage is identical to the real city, enough so that any fan of the game could easily find a photo op during a visit to the still city. Just don't expect to find the real Allegheny River flowing north as it does in the game. In real life, it flows south to Cincinnati. Burnside, Tony Hawk Pro Skater and Pro Skater 3. Tony Hawk Pro Skater is an iconic name to most gamers old enough to have played the 1999 hit. Burnside Skate Park is a very real place in Portland, Oregon that fans of the series can visit. You may notice some minor differences between the park, as it appears in the game, and the real-life location, which was designed by skaters for skaters. The original park was built without the city of Portland's permission and received no city funding. It was constructed mainly of donated materials and has slowly become accepted by the city as a local attraction and part of the local culture. The park is mostly stretched out under Burnside Bridge to protect it from the infamous rainy weather of the Pacific Northwest. A flooded ski park poses obvious safety issues, and the bridge provides some shelter from the rain. Visitors are always welcome at the park, which has no protective gear requirements and asks no admission fee. This monument to the free spirit of the skateboarding world is as much an icon as the game series that features it. With no resources, this once illegal, gravity-defying playground now sits as a real-life wonder for the video game world. Truly wireless play at its best. African Wilderness, Far Cry 2. Far Cry 2 was developed and published by Ubisoft in 2008. Players are dropped into an unnamed African country in this open-world first-person shooter, and they must avoid the violent local warring factions and complete missions. While the unnamed African country players explore in Far Cry 2 may not contain any distinct landmarks or direct real-world references, it's worth mentioning due to the impressive way the developers accurately capture the beauty of the African wilderness, as well as the noble reasons for creating this landscape made from a mixture of African biomes. The game's developers wanted to avoid creating any unintentional political statement with this game or its story. With so many countries in Africa being torn apart by war, it's easy to see why the creators wanted to capture the brutal beauty of the continent without forcing the player to take sides in any real-world political situation. Travelers wanting the same experience should visit several locations in order to experience the full scope of the landscape captured in the game. Peeking in a safari tour at one of the many reputable South African lodges, visiting the Swallow Kalahari Nature Preserve are some examples of how lovers of the game can take in all the sights that make up this skillfully crafted, African-inspired environment. Star Wars Battlefront. Star Wars Battlefront is an action game developed by EA DICE and Criterion Games and published by Electronic Arts in 2015. Battlefront players are soldiers in either side of an opposing armies at various points in the Star Wars timeline. The ice planet of Hoth is as ubiquitous to Star Wars as the Death Star. Its filming location from the 1970s cult classic is in Finse, Norway. It was chosen for its deathfully remote location and sprawling snowy landscape. The town, with a population of roughly 30, is certainly not your average resort destination, but for those seeking to set foot in their favorite battleground from the game, can practically have free run of the place. Perhaps the only building of any real significance is the historic hotel which housed the film crew in the 70s and railroad workers in the early part of the century. The railroad laid went historical guess of the Finse 1222, named for the town's elevation, the highest in the Oslo-Bergen Railway, is the only way to reach the frozen little town. The train ride from Oslo is merely 5 hours. For those Star Wars fans brave enough to make the long journey to the frozen beauty of fins, the trip will be as memorable as it is cold. The journey is said to be one of the most beautiful train rides on Earth. The 43-room Fins 1222 is open year-round, but the best bath experience is had from December to April when the snow is at its deepest. Circuito de Madrid, Gran Turismo 5 and 6. Circuito de Madrid is a track available in Gran Turismo 5 and 6, which were released in 2010 and 2013 by Sony Computer Entertainment, and features the breathtaking sights of Spain's Plaza de Cibeles. The plaza features a concentration of cultural icons, including many famous works of art and beautiful fountains. Citole Palace is a gorgeous structure which serves as the seat of the city council. The palace is open to visitors, and tourists can arrange bus tours through the plaza for those who want to sight the Gran Turismo at a slower pace. One of the most iconic images from the game and the plaza is the Cibeles fountain, which depicts the founder of Madrid, Prince Ocno Bianore, driving a chariot pulled by two lions, which was given to him by a goddess after he sacrificed himself to concentrate the new city. Hall de Alcalá, the longest street in Madrid, Plaza Lealtad, the city's stock exchange, and Plaza Independencia, the city's central square, are all included in the track. Driving through such a rich and beautiful area at the speeds achieved in the game is best left to the virtual world. For those looking to take in the area's beauty, slowing down is a must. Der Eisendrache, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is the 12th installment in the wildly popular Call of Duty series. It was developed by Treyarch and published by Activision in 2015. A fan-favorite feature of these games are the ever-expanding map packs and DLC. Perhaps one of the more well-known zombie map release features an imposing castle with an instantly recognizable bell tower. While the zombies may be fake, the castle is very real. Der Eisendrache is actually Hohenwerfen Castle in Salzburg, Austria. Visitors can tour both the inside and outside of this magnificent structure and recognize many areas from the map in game, and easily spot inspirations for areas that exist only in Call of Duty. Austria is full of video game locations, from the real-life Red Bull Ring racetrack featured in Gran Turismo 6, Wattens, the home of the WSP football club featured in many FIFA games, and also home to the whimsical Swarovski Crystal Garden, sure to transport any visitor to another world of its own, to the mysterious Innsbruck University mentioned in Half-Life 2. Any traveler looking to experience their favorite game locations in our world could find their fill in this beautiful European country. Having seen how much the video game world overlaps with our own, maybe it's time to put down the controller and pick up your passport. Who knows what achievements you may unlock or what hidden worlds you may discover. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more great content. We'll see you next time.